What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Sooner Surge. Hey, before we get started with this video, a couple things. One, hit the subscribe button, join up, be a part of the Sooner Surge community. Also, check out the fan stop. You see the logo in the top corner. Also, across the bottom, you see the banner that shows how to get 10% off your order. Use code Surge, you'll get 10% off your first 2 months. Great merchandise, officially licensed. They got hats, they got shirts, but you can sign up for the Shirt of the Month Club specifically. You get a shirt every month delivered to your house, to your doorstep. New designs, new colors, all of it. Sign up today. And another day closer to the OU Tennessee matchup, the epic matchup that I think fans from both sides have been waiting on for a while. This week's moving by pretty quick, guys, and we broke down yesterday the Tennessee offense versus Oklahoma defense. Today we're going to flip it, and we're going to talk about Oklahoma's offense versus Tennessee's defense. Jeremy.
I'm just going to be honest, guys. You look at paper, you look at stats, it's an absolute mismatch heading into this game. But fortunately, sports aren't played on paper. They're played on a field with elite athletes across the board, and both teams have these. And I'm going to point out some numbers really from Tennessee's defense, and I'll get into some of the things that I think OU's offense is going to have to do. But an area where Tennessee has been known to have a lot of strength is the defensive line. However, through 3 games, they don't rank very high in sacks. They don't rank very high in turnovers. Their turnover ranking in the nation is very low. Tackles for loss, I think, is around 47th in the country. Interceptions, I think, is in the 90s. And sacks, they're ranked in the hundreds, I believe. So the area where people thought maybe they were going to be head and above everyone else hasn't shown yet. Doesn't mean much to me. Again, 3 games in, it doesn't mean much. On the flip side, OU's offense ranks very poor at best in a lot of the categories heading into this game. Now, I think you just throw that stuff away because big-time players step up in big-time games. Tennessee is filled with those across the defensive line. OU has players, but in the trenches is where it's going to determine this, guys. And I think OU's got to establish a run game early. I think they're going to have to do it from the middle and to the outside, and I think they're going to have to do it a number of ways. You're going to see Jackson Arnold run the ball. You're going to see a couple of running backs run inside and outside. I think they're going to utilize Deion Burks a little bit in the short passing game, which I consider to be really in a running attack. You're going to see OU attack short early and then hopes to open it up later in the game, guys.
Yeah, Jeremy, you mentioned the Tennessee defensive line. Although, as you said, this isn't a game that's played on paper. This is a game that's played on the field. This is a Tennessee defensive line that debatably has the best defensive player in the whole entire country in James Pierce Jr., and at any time, he can take over a game. He did it several times last year in the SEC. So it's the weakness of Oklahoma's offense right now has been the offensive line up to this point. They have not played up to standard at Oklahoma. They have not been good in run blocking, have been pretty poor in pass blocking as well. And this is also an Oklahoma offense that has struggled to produce explosive plays. So I think giving Jackson Arnold time is going to be super key for this offensive line. Now, who starts at center, I think, is something really to watch for. And to me, that's really going to give me with my confidence level of how good this offensive line is going to play versus Tennessee. Because is it going to be Josh Bates, who's only started 1 or 2 career games in his career? Or is it going to be Branson Hickman, the guy who's played a ton of football in his career? So is Oklahoma's offensive line going to be able to have a ton of success up front? And is Oklahoma's offense going to be able to create a lot of explosive plays?
Yeah, and Jeremy, you mentioned the stats from Tennessee. I mean, the stats, it's like they've dominated teams so much that I think second half, a lot of those guys aren't even playing. But, hey, the fact of the matter is OU offense has not been very good. They played their best game against Tulane, and the first half they were pretty good, I thought. Second half, they weren't. And for Oklahoma to win this game, the offense has to be a lot better than it's been. I mean, that's a fact. The offensive line has to play their best game that they played today. Can it happen? Yes, but it has to. But when I look at this matchup, I think I I don't know if Tennessee's going to have to bring extra guys up to stop the run. I think they probably think they can stop it with what they got in the box. And that's where you have problems with your OU, I think. And I've heard a lot of people say the Tennessee secondary isn't very good. I think their defensive backs are pretty good. I think where they can be had is safeties. But what have we seen from Oklahoma this year down the field? Nothing. That would be my concern right now, is I think you could get Tennessee deep on some things with their safeties, possibly. But at the same time, Oklahoma hasn't shown that they've been able to do that yet. Now, that doesn't mean they can't, but I just haven't seen it yet. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. I do think they're going to try to establish a run. You said middle and outside. I don't see them running up the middle on Tennessee. I just, from what I've seen through 3 games up the middle, Oklahoma hasn't really been able to. I think you're probably going to take your chances on the edge, and especially maybe Jackson Arnold on the edge. But we'll see. If they could run it up the middle, it'd be great. But I just don't know. I mean, they got some big defensive linemen, very talented, and they play a lot. They play a pretty good rotation of guys. So this is a great matchup. I mean, you've talked about Seth Littrell through 3 games. Seth Littrell is going to earn his keep or whatever you want to say about him after this game. If he calls a really good game, I think that the attitude towards Seth Littrell would change in a heartbeat.
OU's going to have to bend towards what they can do best. They're going to have to exploit some of the matchups that they do have in their favor.
You got to win the one-on-one matchups.
I'm going to briefly talk about a couple of the matchups I think OU has in their favor. One, if Nick Anderson's back, and I'm not saying that's a matchup that OU is going to win. What I'm saying is it allows you to maybe get Deion Burks continually against linebackers and safeties. If Deion Burks can go against linebackers and safeties, I like OU's matchup in that. Another area, I think, according to what Brent Venable said, I think Taylor Tatum's going to play more. I think he does have the explosive big play ability. Whether or not that happens, I think, is dependent on the O-line. OU may have to go a couple tight end sets, 2 back sets to try to create more of a running game. They're going to have to do some things differently to try to create matchup problems. Another area, if Nick Anderson does play, I do think they can go over the top more than they have in the past. But listen, every one of those things was preceded with the word if.
Yeah, Jeremy, I do think that having the opportunity to get back Nick Anderson has a chance to help out Jackson Arnold substantially. I think that if Anderson is healthy and 100%, if he's the Nick Anderson of old, of what he was last season, I think we could see him go out there and have his impact felt immediately. Because Oklahoma right now at wide receiver, they don't have much size at all. They don't have any experience with the size that they have. So getting Nick Anderson back could be huge. Is Andrew Anthony potentially going to be back as well as something to watch? We don't really know. We'll find out more whenever the injury report comes out, who's going to be available, who's questionable, who's not going to play. So I think that'll be something to watch on the offensive side of the ball. But Tennessee, they're only allowing a touchdown 50% of the time whenever teams get into the red zone. Oklahoma is 13 for 13 on the year in the red zone. So I think it is going to be super crucial for whenever Oklahoma has chances and opportunities to get down there, for Oklahoma to take care of the ball, not commit a costly turnover. And also, this is a chance for Jackson Arnold, guys, to have his statement game to the whole country, I would say, because all the talk right now is about Nico, how good that Nico's playing. Jackson Arnold and Nico were 2 5-star QBs in the same class. So I think that's something super fun to watch, is just going to see how Jackson Arnold is going to respond to this big of a stage, because this is the biggest game Jackson Arnold has played in by far in his career. It's the biggest game that Nico's also played in his career, debatably. So this is going to be something that I think is what a lot of Oklahoma fans are looking forward to watching. And Oklahoma is officially in the SEC. It's officially here.
Yeah, and Tennessee's defense, they haven't played a whole lot of good teams, but they have not allowed a touchdown. So that's an impressive stat. Maybe it's one of those things. I think it's very important for Oklahoma to start early and get something going. If they score a touchdown early, I mean, you've seen teams where they've been dominant and haven't allowed anything, and then you score on them, and maybe it does change that. We'll see. But I think a couple things. First off, mano y mano. You got to win your man-on-man matchups, either at receiver or at running back. Multiple times in the Tulane game, some of those runs that went for 12 to 15 yards should have been 40-yarders. They make one guy miss. It's a safety. They didn't make a miss. I think even Brent Venables alluded to it. You got to make that guy miss if you're the running back. So, and receivers, if you get a guy with a step, you got to hit him. You got to hit that ball. This is a game where you got to hit on all cylinders. And we'll see if Oklahoma can do it come Saturday night. It's going to be electric atmosphere. It's going to be amazing. Cannot wait. Excited as a fan to be in the SEC for sure. I'm sure the players are for this epic matchup. Going to be a great night in Norman. Thanks for watching the video. Remember, nightly live shows every single night, 9:30. Join up. Be a part of it. Doesn't matter what fan base you're from. Come join up, talk SEC football with us. Also, check out the FanStop, www.thefanstop.com. Appreciate you guys. Till next time.